Part 14. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 132. Skyline. Huangtianzhou, in the immortal Taoist palace. Zhuge Yuqing held up the broken sword in his hand. At this moment, he felt as if he had become a unique being in the world. Only one sword in your hand can cut down the heavens. The sword is soaring to the sky. However, right now, in the immortal Dao Palace, suddenly, the tip of the broken sword that fell under the stone table began to tremble. A terrifying light emanated from it, and the terrifying principles and light formed a shadow. As soon as the phantom appeared, the entire immortal Dao Palace trembled. It was a hazy figure. You couldn't see his true appearance, but you could vaguely feel the majesty of it, like an invincible lord in heaven and earth. The figure stood up with his hands behind his back. The moment he appeared, the tip of the broken sword instantly turned into powder and ceased to exist. A true sword species that can inherit Wuji swordsmanship. Before me, I was nothing more than ashes. The figure suddenly raised his hand. At this moment, in the Dao Palace, Lu Rang, Zhuge Yuqing, and Ji Yuanqing all felt a terrifying pressure. It was as if a master of the world had announced his own death. Trembling so much that I almost knelt down. At this moment, the pot of grass on Lu Rang's back glowed as white as ashes, as if he wanted to resist. The broken sword in Zhuge Yuqing's hand rang softly, as if there was an unyielding fighting spirit. The ashes of the first immortal king of the heavenly realm and the broken sword of the Wuji sword king of the southern immortal realm felt the approach of the former enemy at this moment and fought against the enemy on their own. However, he could not stop the figure from approaching step by step. If you live, you will die by my hands. If you die, how can you do anything to me? A loud, expressionless voice sounded from the figure. He raised his hand. The broken sword hangs low and the grass trembles. In Zhuge Yuqing's heart, endless killing intent surged towards the figure in front of him. No matter who you are, you must die today. He shouted loudly, and suddenly took out a roll of rice paper from his arms. The rice paper was quickly opened, and there was a sunset on top of the rice paper. The mountains rise and fall, and the sunset between heaven and earth is like blood. When this picture appeared, the figure walking towards them like a king was suddenly startled. The picture in Zhuge Yuqing's hand suddenly showed thousands of terrifying principles, as if a blazing sun appeared in the palace. The Great Sun Path Map, the Buddha of the Western Immortal Realm. How dare you interfere in my affairs? The figure made an unexpected sound, and then he grabbed it towards the Great Sun Dao diagram. With a terrifying grab, the entire Dao Palace rumbled, and the laws of heaven and earth almost collapsed because of it. Zhuge Yuqing was not afraid, holding up the sunset picture in her hand, and took a step forward. Boom boom. Suddenly, that terrifying big hand transformed into thousands of ways and disappeared. How can this be? The figure was taken aback. Moreover, at this moment, he clearly felt that the Dao diagram contained a terrifying power, which was like a whirlpool and wanted to absorb him into the Dao diagram. Dare you? Thousands of immortal laws are hanging down from his body, and the whole world is trembling with it. He resisted this terrifying attraction. However, the Great Sun Path diagram expanded infinitely at this moment, as if it had turned into a world, actively covering this figure. I can break through all realms, even if you can lock me into this realm, I can break through it and come back. This figure left one last roar, and then disappeared quickly. The next moment, the hall suddenly became quiet. The terrifying picture of the Great Sun Path slowly fell from the sky. Finally fell into the hands of Zhuge Yuqing. That terrifying figure in the sky and on earth has disappeared. It was as if it had never appeared. What kind of Dao map is this? Why is it so terrifying, that it can actually absorb an existence at the level of the immortal king into it? Ji Yuanqing trembled. He looked at the picture in disbelief. At this moment, he couldn't help but worship. Duguyuking was also stunned at this moment. His expression was a little dazed. Everything that happened just now was like a big dream. He clearly felt that his mind and spirit seemed to be one with the sword, soaring into the sky and breaking into the immortal realm. He clearly felt that when the figure appeared just now, there was a strong hatred and strong unwillingness from the bottom of his heart. He understood that all of this was because of the broken sword in his hand. From a generation, the immortal king. Is this why Master asked me to come here? Duguyuking murmured. At this moment, he realized that every arrangement made by Master was so unique and profound. Does Master want me to get the sword and Tao of Wuji Immortal King to avenge them? What is the relationship between Master and Wuji Immortal King and others? Endless imaginations arose in his mind. Master, is he also an immortal king? He couldn't help but speculate, but to no avail. Damn, this guy finally disappeared. I was scared to death just now. Lu Rang patted his chest, looking shocked. The figure just now gave him too much pressure. In particular, the grass he planted had unexpected changes just now. What's wrong with my grass? I feel a little different. No, I have to go back quickly and ask Master. He opened his mouth, and since the ashes fell into the basin, he felt that the grass seemed to have undergone some strange changes. I believe that all of this must be within Master's expectation. These are what he wants you and me to get. Duguyuking spoke and picked up the scroll in his hand. The Master had long expected that there would be a transcendent immortal being here, so he allowed himself to bring his Tao map. Suddenly, his expression was shocked, because he discovered that in the picture of the Dao of the sun that the Master had transformed, there was actually a hazy figure. That figure was in mid-air and seemed to be flying towards the red sun. What's going on? Duguyuking was shocked. When Lu Rang saw this, he was also a little confused and said, "Isn't this the old boy just now? How did he get into Master's painting?" Ji Yuanqing stepped forward, took a look, and lost his voice. This picture is a world of its own, and the clone of the immortal king is locked in it. He looked horrified. Isn't this incredible? Immortal king, what level of existence is that? That's a nickname for invincible. It can be called the strongest in all realms. The thought of such a person will cause all worlds to collapse, but now he is locked by a picture. What kind of terrifying power does this picture contain? He was in a daze for a long time before he suddenly came to his senses. The owner of this Dao map is related to Wuji Immortal King, the first immortal king of heaven. Something moved in his heart. Obviously, Lu Rang and Duguyuking got his orders and came here to accept the inheritance of the two immortal kings. Moreover, he also predicted that there would be a clone of the immortal king of the fairy land here, so he gave the Tao map. Could it be said that the terrifying existence behind them is related to the first heaven? At least, he is very friendly to the first heaven. Ji Yuanqing looked excited and couldn't help but ask questions. He looked at Duguyuking and said, "I dare to ask you two young masters, respected master, but are you old with the first heaven realm?" Hearing this, Duguyuking frowned slightly. He doesn't know either. However, he could see that Ji Yuanqing seemed to be related to the first heaven realm, and he should be the inheritance guardian of the immortal Dao Palace. He couldn't bear the other party's disappointment and said, "Master is unfathomable, and we don't know it either, but, the reason why the new world is called heaven, is precisely because of his decree." Duguyuking informed. Hearing this, Ji Yuanqing was extremely excited. Sure enough, sure enough. Behind them is the Lord of Heaven, the being from Xiantian province. The other party has an old relationship with the first heaven. In the prophecy of the first immortal king of heaven, the immortal Dao Palace will be born again, and someone will pacify everything. It must be the senior. Now, he is planning. He burst into tears. At this moment, he just felt that thousands of generations of people in his lineage had waited patiently and endured the humiliation, and finally had the result. A figure actually entered the painting. This matter is very strange. We must go back to Xiantian Prefecture immediately and report it to Master. Dugu Yuking continued to speak and put away the broken sword. Lu Rang also carried the grass on his back and said, "Yeah, I think it's time to leave too. There are too many problems with this place." Several people immediately walked out of the palace. When I walked out of the palace, I saw hundreds of people from the heavenly realm kneeling on the ground on the steps outside the Dao Palace, still trembling. Just now, several breaths of transcendence and immortality appeared in succession in the immortal Dao Palace. For them, it was too terrifying, so they were still immersed in horror at this moment. "Miss Kinglin, Miss Xiaoyao, you can get up. Nothing happens here." Dugu Yuking stepped forward and spoke to Kinglin and Xiaoyao. Hearing this, Kinglin Xiaoyao raised her eyes in a daze and stood up. At this moment, a terrifying aura came out of the palace before it slowly dissipated. In front of the immortal Dao Palace, hundreds of people were kneeling on the ground and trembling, and they slowly calmed down at this moment. Just now, what happened? God, what kind of existence is that? It's more terrifying than the immortal existence. How is this possible? What kind of existence is involved in this palace of bones? It's unimaginable. Everyone was in a daze and shocked to the extreme. Today, they were hit too hard. When outside the barrier, an immortal level existence has already appeared. After entering this place, Yin soldiers appeared to guard the Taoist palace made of the bones of the immortal. In the Tao Palace, existences beyond immortality are actually involved. Have they got the opportunity? At this time, everyone's eyes also fell on Lu Rang and Dugu Yuking. For a moment, everyone's eyes were more or less filled with heat. You must know that this is an opportunity involving immortality. If you get it, what kind of future will it be? These two are truly destined, and at the same time, they are the disciples of the Lord of Heaven. At this time, Ji Yuanqing suddenly spoke in a deep voice and said, "With the opportunity to get here today, you are the descendants of the first heaven, and you should be respected as the master of the heaven. Those who are disrespectful will surely die." Hearing this, everyone in the venue was shocked. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 133. Ji Yuanking's words made everyone's expressions change drastically. Lord of Heaven? Lu Rang and Dugu Yuking are actually the disciples of the Lord of Heaven? For a moment, everyone looked at Lu Rang and Dugu Yuking with shock. In today's world, who doesn't know the Lord of Heaven? Some time ago, the four major alliances took action together to attack Xiantian Prefecture, but as soon as Xiantian Prefecture's unparalleled decree came out, the four major alliances surrendered. At that time, Zhang Shui, who casually destroyed several golden immortals, told the world that the being who wrote the decree could be called the Lord of Heaven. Everyone knows that there is very likely an immortal level existence in Xiantian state. Because only when it comes to the immortal level can one have the ability to write down the decree. I just said, how could Lu Rang be so defiant and break 9 games in a row? It turns out that the real chess player is the Lord of Heaven. The Lord of Heaven personally planned this place? How terrifying! I thought before that the Lord of Heaven was immortal, but before that, he had made an immortal with a game of chess. He is very likely to be above immortality. I finally understand that the new world after the fusion is called Heaven. The senior from Xiantian province is probably the terrifying figure in the first Heaven period. For a time, everyone in the venue spoke one after another. Ji Yuanking's words really made them imagine countless things. At the same time, the passion and greed in everyone's eyes have completely disappeared. Only awe and piety remain. Hey, the reason why we are able to get here and get the immortal inheritance on this step is all because of the gift of the Lord of Heaven. Without him, we wouldn't even be able to get in. Indeed, the Lord of Heaven. Follow the banner of the Lord of Heaven. In the future, we may be able to establish the first heaven again. For a time, everyone spoke one after another. Lord of Heaven. Suddenly, a young man shouted and knelt down directly towards Tuguyuking and Lurang. Lord of Heaven! Lord of Heaven! Lord of Heaven! Everyone spoke one after another and all knelt down. Everyone is bowing down. Even Xuanhuan couldn't help but kneel down at this moment. Because, Yang Michan in his body was telling him to kneel down. Boy, even in the immortal realm, it is extremely difficult to meet the immortal king, let alone an existence that transcends immortality. This existence in the heaven today must not be disrespected. These are the words of the first immortal general Yang Michan. At this moment, in a place quite far away from the immortal Dao Palace, a blood shadow stared in the direction of the immortal Dao Palace. There is clearly only one immortal king in the first heaven, and he has also fallen. Where did this Lord of Heaven jump out from? Its words seemed to be full of fear, and it took a deep look at the immortal Dao Palace. The next moment, he actually suppressed the desire in his heart and turned around to leave. Before the immortal Dao Palace, Lurang and Tuguyuking looked at each other when they saw the scene in front of them, and both saw complicated expressions in each other's eyes. Today, almost all of these people have received immortal inheritance. One can imagine what achievements will be made in the future. And these people now respect Li Fan as the Lord of Heaven. If Li Fan gives the order, they will definitely assemble. Perhaps this is part of Master's plan to allow people in the heaven to receive the inheritance of this place, thereby cultivating a force that belongs to the first heaven. Many speculations flashed through Tuguyuking's mind. He immediately stepped forward and said, "Everyone, please get up. The opportunity here has been obtained, please follow me and leave." Immediately, everyone stood up one after another, following Tuguyuking and Lurang. They walked forward, and soon they left the area where the immortal Dao Palace was located, and were about to enter the evil atmosphere where Yin soldiers were rampant. Boom boom. At this moment, a huge sensation suddenly came from behind, and everyone turned around, only to see the immortal Dao Palace rising from the ground and flying to who knows where. The mission of the immortal Dao Palace is to leave a legacy, now that the inheritance has been left, unless all the people who have received the inheritance in this generation die, otherwise, the immortal Dao Palace will not appear again. Ji Yuanqing spoke, his words full of sadness. The immortal Dao Palace is the foundation of the first heaven realm. In order to destroy it, the immortal realm used countless powerful people. Now that the birth of the immortal Dao Palace has caused such a big stir, people in the immortal realm will definitely notice it. If they continue to stay here, they will most likely be destroyed. After all, it is impossible for these Yin soldiers here to withstand the attack from the immortal realm. For Ji Yuanqing, perhaps, she hopes to see the immortal Dao Palace again, but also hopes that the immortal Dao Palace will never appear again. Because he doesn't want to see these people who have received the inheritance today die one by one. Let's go. Tuguyuking spoke. He took the lead and stepped into the evil and Yin energy. As they came forward, they saw countless Yin soldiers standing up from the mountain of corpses and sea of bones, silent, seeming to be watching this group of people. Tuguyuking held the chicken quill pen in her hand, ready to take action at any time. However, the densely packed Yin soldiers around him remained motionless. Those undead war horses, dead skeletons, etc. are like silent sculptures. Between them, a path was left. Yin soldiers lined both sides of the road. At this moment, it was like bidding farewell to these living people. Everyone was shocked and walked tremblingly between the Yin soldiers. The immortal Dao Palace has flown away, and the inheritance has been left behind. For these Yin soldiers, their last wish has been fulfilled. Perhaps after today, they will truly rot, ashes return to dust, Soil returned to soil, and ceased to exist. Xuanhuan sighed with emotion, with deep pain in his old eyes. Many of these dead Yin soldiers are recorded in the Ji family's ancestral home. They are all heroic spirits who have fought to the death for the first heaven. Finally, Zhuge Yuqing and Lu Rang led everyone to the edge of the barrier. At this moment, Zhuge Yuqing turned back and looked at the dense crowd of Yin soldiers behind him. He suddenly raised the broken sword in his hand and said, "One day, I will return to the first heaven. I will kill all the kings in the immortal realm." Countless silent soldiers suddenly roared with terrifying murderous intent. Kill! 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 That is their unyielding roar and their lifelong hatred. Zhuge Yuqing took a deep look at the countless Yin soldiers, then turned around and stepped out of the barrier with Lu Rang. The inheritance in the immortal Dao Palace has been obtained, so the barrier is reopened. Not long after, everyone had walked out of the barrier. Boom boom. The moment they walked out of the barrier, a terrifying light suddenly enveloped the place, and everything behind them disappeared. Looking vaguely, the mountains in the distance are graceful and undulating. The ancient battlefield also quietly disappeared. Maybe it will never show up again. Let's go back to Xuanhuan. Zhuge Yuqing spoke, and Lu Rang and him were about to leave. Comrades, let's say goodbye. Thank you for the fairy spirit stones. Our village continues to recruit people to raise pigs. If you are interested, remember to come. Lu Rang was carefree and left a sentence with a smile, and then the two of them turned into a ray of light and left directly. The remaining few hundred people from the four major alliances all have complicated expressions at this moment. And at this moment, the fairyland. There are big waves in the immortal realm. The entire fairyland is boiling. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 134. Fairyland. Today there are huge waves. First of all, an unyielding will came from the lower realm and broke through the boundary wall, shocking the five immortal realms. This will appeared above the immortal realm and headed directly towards the western immortal realm. Not long after, this will appeared in front of an ancient and grand city in the western immortal territory. The holy golden immortal lord, the first heavenly realm Zanli, is here to kill you. Zhanli's will, with a shout, the murderous intention rushes into the night. In an instant, the entire immortal city was shaken violently. Countless magic formations buried underground in the immortal city emitted thousands of rays of light, and various defensive barriers all lit up. A powerful enemy is coming. He Fengxianjun is going to take action against our holy gold immortal city. Report to the immortal lord quickly. There was chaos in the city, and the immortal generals guarding the city were all shocked. Because the enemy coming at this moment is an immortal lord. You must know that even in the immortal realm, if a war breaks out between immortal lord level beings, it will be a huge event and cause a storm. Moreover, at this moment, the coming immortal lord actually comes from the first heaven realm. Even in the immortal realm, the first heaven realm, it is almost a taboo. On weekdays, few people dare to mention it. Because things in that realm involve some terrifying immortal kings. The first heaven? Hasn't the first heaven already turned into ashes? It has long been destroyed in the long river of history. Why is there still an immortal lord appearing in the first heaven realm? Zhanli seem to have heard of this name. In the battle with the first heaven realm, he seemed to be the strongest among the younger generation of the first heaven realm. He killed several immortal realm supers of the same level. The powerful genius finally forced the Shenzhen immortal lord to take action to kill him. For a time, countless people in the holy golden fairy city murmured, all of them were extremely shocked. Holy gold immortal lord, don't you dare to fight. If you dare not fight, I will slaughter your fairy city today. Xuanhuan's will has turned into a majestic young man. He stood with his hands behind his back and took one step. In an instant, the entire Shenzhen fairy city almost collapsed. Countless barriers were annihilated on the spot, and many defensive formations were directly destroyed. The power is terrifying. In the holy golden immortal city, countless cultivators were wailing. Who dares to spare my training place? Finally, in the holy golden fairy city, a cold and majestic voice finally sounded. Following this voice, a terrifying divine golden mace suddenly rose from the holy golden fairy city, and then slashed towards Xuanhuan with endless power. When Xuanhuan saw this, he just raised his hand coldly. Immediately, the golden magic weapon was repulsed and could not get close to him. Above the holy golden fairy city, a middle-aged man in a golden robe finally appeared. His skin glowed with a golden luster, like a golden sculpture. There was something even more vague in his eyes, a golden light that seemed to be able to penetrate everything. Western Immortal Territory, Holy Golden Immortal Lord. Xuanhuan? The ants who died at my hands tens of thousands of years ago would not have thought that today they would dare to turn into dragons and come to pick a fight. The Holy Gold Immortal Lord spoke indifferently and said, "So what if you turn into an immortal lord? Don't say it's just a mere will to achieve enlightenment. Even if you are still alive, I can kill you again." He took hold of the divine golden mace in his hand and stepped out. In an instant, thousands of terrifying Taoist principles pressed towards Xuanhuan. "Go to hell!" he roared. Xuanhuan, with only one will left, is now full of fighting spirit. With a wave of his hand, thousands of terrifying Taoist principles accompany him to fight against the Holy Golden Immortal Lord. The void is annihilated, fighting to the point of madness. This battle lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. The entire Western Immortal Territory is almost full of traces of the angry battle between the two. The flames of war swept across all directions, making the entire Immortal Territory pay close attention. What's going on? The first heaven has been destroyed for so many years, why can a will still become immortal? Kill the immortal realm. There must have been a big change in the lower realm. The will of the Wuji immortal king also appeared in the immortal realm, vowing to kill all the kings. What happened in the past year? There may be a big storm in the lower realm. Everyone is paying attention. Even among the immortal forces, some of the powerful immortal lords have opened their eyes and are paying attention to the battle between Xuanhuan and Shenzhen immortal lord. On the 3rd day, at dusk, somewhere on the land, the immortal lord's screams shook the sky. The ground there exploded, forming a terrifying giant crater. Immediately afterwards, in the Western Immortal Territory, blood suddenly rained from the sky. The Immortal Lord has fallen. For a moment, the entire Western Immortal Territory was shaken. The Immortal Lord fell and returned to the Immortal Realm, so his cultivation essence turned into a rain of blood and returned to heaven and earth. The rain of blood in the sky, also known as the crying of the sky, means the death of the immortal. Is the war over? Is the Holy Golden Immortal Lord actually dead? Incredible! How is it possible? It is said that Xuanhuan is not a remnant of will. Can he actually fight against the powerful immortal lord of the Western Immortal region? Terrible! Attention from all directions. The Holy Golden Immortal City even collapsed that day and fell into doom. When the immortal king dies, his inheritance will also be severely weakened. This battle has finally come to an end. On that day, many major forces went to the place of decisive battle to investigate. Xuanhuan is out of his wits. I don't know where the golden magic weapon of the Holy Golden Immortal Lord has gone. At the scene, it seems that other scents were discovered. For a time, there were different opinions. Finally, a majestic voice came from the Immortal Lord Temple of the Western Immortal region. The Holy Golden Immortal Lord died in battle, but there is still a trace of blood essence, which is preserved in the Immortal Lord Temple of the Western Immortal region. There is still hope of rebirth. As soon as the news came out, there was a huge shock in all directions. The Holy Golden Immortal really died in battle. My God, the Holy Gold Immortal Lord is one of the most powerful immortal lords in the Western immortal realm, right? It is said that he even had the hope of becoming an immortal king, and now he actually died in battle. It's unbelievable. In the first world, Zanli, a mere will can prove immortality and kill the Holy Golden Immortal Lord. There must be big waves in the lower realm, we must pay attention. Everyone in the fairyland was shocked. At this moment, in the upper level of the immortal realm, a secret news was quietly spread. A certain immortal king left a clone in the lower realm as a backup to wait for the remnants of the first heaven. When the Wuji Sword King rushed into the immortal realm with his sword, he once summoned that clone, but then, he completely lost it. Connect. Very few people know this secret, and only the truly powerful can hear it. This secret is even more shocking than the news that the Holy Golden Immortal Lord died in battle. The upper levels of the immortal realm were all shaken for a moment. Doesn't this mean that there is an existence in the lower realm that can compete with, or even suppress the clone of the immortal king? Impossible. Throughout the ages in the lower realm, only the first immortal king of the heavenly realm has succeeded in attaining enlightenment. And he is already dead. Along with his friend, the Wuji immortal king of the southern immortal domain, were all killed. Who else is there in the lower realm? Explore the million lower realm immediately. We must find the source of this disaster. All parties immediately paid attention. Blue Cloud Fairy City. This place is an immortal city, where immortal Lord Lanyun lives. Today, in the immortal Lord's hall, a cold voice came out. Send the message immediately, search the lower realms, and be sure to find the source. Yuyang Fairy City. Immortal Lord Yuyang has issued a decree, and the 9 immortal generals will immediately lead people to the lower realm to search for the source of the sword intention of the Wuji Sword King. In the holy cities of the immortal Lord, orders are constantly being issued. The eyes of the immortal realm all look towards the lower realm. At this moment, in the endless depths, amid steaming clouds and rosy clouds, there is a majestic fairy palace. A pair of eyes flickered on and off, anger rose, and it seemed that the avenues of heaven and earth were fluctuating with it. Just in the lower realm, who is it that imprisoned my clone? The terrifying existence murmured in a low voice, and immediately said, I am in a critical period and cannot leave in person. He flicked his fingers, and a stream of light instantly traveled through the entire immortal realm and appeared in the endless void ocean in the lower realm. The stream of light instantly turned into a silhouette. He walked like a dragon and a tiger, dressed in a green robe, and his eyes were like stars in the dark night, seemingly able to see through the sky. He is walking in the void ocean, looking for something. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 135. Skyline. When Lu Rang, Duguyuking and the others left the burial immortal mountains, everything behind them suddenly disappeared. It was as if nothing had ever existed. Master Lu Rang and Master Dugu, please tell me where we should go today. Yu Pashan, leader of the Earth Spirit Alliance, immediately bowed solemnly to Lu and the two of them and asked. Now, they all respect Li Fan as their co-owner. First, they all understood that it was the Lord of Heaven who had given all this. If it had not been for the Lord of Heaven, they would have had no chance of approaching the immortal Dao Palace. Secondly, there is an immortal hatred between the first heaven realm and the immortal realm. Now that they have received the inheritance of the immortal Dao Palace of the first heaven realm, when the immortal realm discovers it in the future, they will never be allowed to survive. Therefore, we can only follow the Lord of Heaven. After all, this Lord of Heaven is very likely to transcend immortality. This is their only way. Everyone, please return to your original sect for the time being. From today on, the 4 major alliances must obey Xuanhuan Zou's orders. Duguyuking opened his mouth and said, the Xiantian alliance was established with the will of my master. Hearing this, everyone bowed deeply. I'm waiting for your order. I'm waiting for your order. Later, Lu Rang and Dugu Yuking stepped onto the teleportation array and prepared to leave. Hey, if we want to go to your village to raise pigs, how can we find you? At this time, Xia Yao caught up and asked questions. The figures of Lu Rang and Dugu Yuking gradually disappeared, and only a voice came into her ears. The southern region of Xiantian Prefecture, the Kangli mountain range, everything depends on fate. Xia Yao looked at the direction in which they disappeared and murmured, Xiantian Prefecture, Southern Territory, Kangli mountain range. She turned around and said, Sister Kinglin, shall we go directly to Xiantian Prefecture? Kinglin nodded, took a deep breath, and said, we must go to Xiantian Prefecture. Xuanhuan, Southern Territory. There was also a huge earthquake in the Southern Territory today. The various fluctuations that continuously emitted from Huangtianzhou directly shocked the world. Terrible. Holy Lord Yuan Yang and others all understood that most of this was related to the two disciples sent by Li Fan. After returning to Taiyan Holy Land, a group of people were uneasy. What exactly happened today? That kind of terrifying aura comes one after another. Is it almost like the sky is about to collapse? Senior Li became an immortal just by playing chess casually. This is simply unimaginable. What's even more unbelievable is that in Huangtianzhou, there are actually existences beyond immortality. I simply wonder if we are dreaming and have returned to the ancient mythological era. Holy Master Kongming, Dugu Shenlu, etc. were all filled with emotion. Who could have imagined that more than a month ago, this place was just a Xuanzi world? Before that, they were still looking up to the quasi-immortal and wanted to see an immortal but couldn't. Now, even immortality, an existence that can only be heard in legends, has been seen. The overall situation laid out by Senior Li is too terrible. I once thought that we would be lucky enough to be a part of Senior Li's chess game. But now I realize that we are really just ants, facing the dragon without knowing. Holy Lord Yuan Yang was deeply moved. Everyone also nodded, imagining that the overall situation laid out by Senior Li actually involves immortality and existence above immortality. Their scalps go numb just thinking about it. The teleportation circle has been activated. Are Senior Li's two disciples coming back? At this time, Holy Lord Lingqiao suddenly spoke. Everyone hurriedly gathered next to the teleportation array. Not long after, a door to space suddenly opened, and then two figures suddenly fell out. Vomit. As soon as they appeared, Lu Rang and Dugu Yuking suddenly vomited. Their faces were pale and they both looked extremely weak. Seeing this, Holy Lord Yuan Yang and others were shocked. Two young masters, there was a big battle. Are there any pursuers in the rear? Hurry, close the teleportation array. You can actually injure two of Senior Li's disciples like this? Alliance Leader Linger and Alliance Leader Jianning, please take action. Everyone is very anxious. You must know that these two disciples of Li Fan are both in the realm of true immortals and above. Moreover, the two of them also have treasures given by Li Fan. To be in such a panic, I am afraid that I have encountered a huge enemy. No. It's not. Lu Rang stood up with difficulty holding onto the pillar and said. We are motion sick, water. Give us water. Motion sickness. Hearing this, Holy Master Yuan Yang and others were startled. A dignified cultivator, is there such a thing? Soon, Lu Rang and Dugu Yuking finally rested and regained their spirits. Master Lu, what happened over there in Huangtianzhou? Can you tell me? Everyone spoke. Dugu Shenlu also looked at Dugu Yuking and said. Yuking, what happened over there? Why does the sword in your hand make my father want to worship him? Dugu Yuking raised his head and said. To be honest with you, Huangtianzhou was indeed once part of the first heaven realm. This time, the immortal Taoist palace in the first heaven realm was born, and over there were immortals and others. He roughly told what happened in Huangtianzhou. This is no secret. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. Senior Li, with a casual game of chess, allowed a quasi-immortal, dead will to break through and become a true immortal. It's terrible. The immortal Dao Palace is terrifying to imagine. The first immortal king of heaven, the infinite immortal king, these are all big taboos. Several people were filled with emotion. In addition, the existence of the immortal king who killed the first heavenly realm in the past has left a clone behind. He is attacking us and wants to destroy us. Duguyuking continued. Fortunately, Master gave me a Tao map before leaving, and the clone has been locked into this Tao map. He showed Li Fan's sunset picture to everyone. In the Dao map, a figure is approaching towards the sunset. It's terrible, this clone is most likely that kind of person. Senior Li actually accepted a picture. Isn't it remarkable that Senior Li has taken away this picture? Senior Li, as expected, he has long expected that only an existence at the level of the immortal king can make him interested, right? Everyone was filled with emotion. Huh? Junior brother, I found that this figure is closer to the sunset than before. At this time, Lu Rang suddenly spoke. With his sharp eyes, he discovered the problem. Duguyuking examined it carefully and was shocked, saying, "Indeed, this figure seems to be moving in the painting, approaching the sunset." Lu Rang's face looked a little ugly and said, "When he gets close to the sunset, he won't be able to break this painting and reappear, right?" Thinking of the terror of that figure, Lu Rang and Duguyuking both had extremely solemn expressions on their faces. "We have to go back to see Master as soon as possible. This matter is so terrifying that only his old man can handle it." Duguyuking spoke immediately, and could not waste any more time now. They set off immediately. And at this moment, above the fairyland, "That's the sword intention of the Wuji immortal king, has he really fallen?" A group of powerful generals stood in a deserted wasteland. The leader was a middle-aged man carrying a large iron sword on his back. The muscles on his hands were like horned dragons, very strong, and the armor on his body was mottled. He was obviously an iron-blooded immortal general who had been killed from among the dead. Such a tough man, at this moment, his eyes are full of tears, looking at the sky, full of sorrow. Coming out of the southern territory, they have been searching for the source of the sword that crushed Tianese in the past, because in their opinion, it must be someone related to Wuji Immortal King, and it may even be Wuji Immortal King himself. But now, a sword intention breaks through the boundary wall, returns to the fairyland, and sends out an iron-blooded battle cry against the old enemy. Only then do they understand. The Immortal King Wuji has really fallen. The Immortal King has fallen. Do we still need to look for him? The immortal demon lord on the Forbidden Sea may be afraid that the immortal king is not dead, so he dare not move again. Now the whole immortal realm knows that the immortal king has fallen. I am afraid it won't be long before the demon army comes back. What should I do? There were 12 powerful immortal generals following this person. At this moment, they all looked sad and felt confused. The man with the big iron sword on his back, the sadness in his eyes gradually dissipated, and suddenly he clenched his fists. The immortal king has already said that there is a true sword species in the lower realm. It's hard to find a true sword species in the world. The sword species is unrivaled. The immortal king has passed down his swordsmanship. Now we must go to the lower world to find the immortal king's successor and protect him as he grows up. No, this is our southern immortal territories, only chance. His words are firm. The 12 great immortal generals behind him also nodded. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 136. Skyline. Southern region, Kangli Mountains. Lu Rang, Zhuge Yuking and others have rushed back to the small mountain village. When entering the small mountain village, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. As long as they arrive here, even if they are truly immortal beings, they won't be so worried. They soon arrived outside Li Fan's small courtyard. Lu Rang stepped forward and pushed the door open, walked into the small courtyard, and said, "Master, we are back." In the small courtyard, Li Fan was having nothing to do, teaching Xuanhuan to read poetry and playing chess. His opponent is himself. I helped Lu Rang play chess before. Although the opponent's chess skills were not very good, it also aroused Li Fan's interest, so he played a few games with himself. "You're back. Has everything been smooth sailing?" Seeing Lu Rang and others coming back, Li Fan smiled and asked. The other brothers and sisters also stopped what they were doing and looked at Lu Rang and Zhuge Yuking. Nanfeng, Ziling, Long Xuanhuan, etc. all have a look of expectation and curiosity in their eyes. They knew that this time, the two junior brothers went out, and caused huge waves. Even the level of immortality and existence above immortality has appeared. "Master Qi, everything is going well for us," Zhuge Yuking reported. "We have completed the mission according to Master's wishes." He still felt a little emotional in his heart. If his master had told him and Lu Rang before setting off that they would have to face immortality and existences above immortality this time, he might not have dared to go. Fortunately, the things in the immortal Dao Palace have now been obtained. He believed that that was the master's purpose. Li Fan also smiled when he heard this. It seemed that the mission was completed successfully. Zhuge Yuking has just learned calligraphy for a while. Can he still stand out in the outside world? "Where's the prize? Show it to me," Li Fan asked. He was quite curious about whether the competitions organized by the outside world had generous rewards. "If possible, I might be able to participate in it in the future." Hearing this, Zhuge Yuking was startled for a moment, but he quickly understood. The prize the teacher mentioned must be referring to the broken sword. For the teacher, this experience is a test for himself and others, and if you pass the test, the items you get are naturally the so-called prizes. "It's here." Zhuge Yuking immediately presented the broken sword respectfully. Others were surprised when they saw this. "This sword is so terrifying. It doesn't exude any aura of terror, but it is like an abyss, unfathomable." Long Xuanhuan couldn't help but speak. "Although Shen Yun is dormant, you can still feel the invincible sharpness. This sword may have drank the blood of a true Buddha." Qing Chen even murmured, in his eyes, this sword was simply a powerful weapon. Extremely dangerous. Holy Lord Yuan Yang and others also looked shocked. Just one glance at this sword made them feel unbearable pressure coming from their souls. "This sword, just by getting close, I almost become a Taoist. Can it absorb all the swordsmanship in the world?" Zhuge Shenlu even murmured. "This is too scary." And Xuanhuan also opened her eyes wide, looking at the broken sword in disbelief. "Demon Lord, is this the legendary sword from the southern immortal realm?" Gongya spoke tremblingly. This sword almost made her kneel down. Because this broken sword had been bathed in countless demon blood, and she even felt that it included the blood of the immortal Demon King, and even, the blood of the Demon King who transcended immortality. "This is too scary. The only one who can do this is the one from the southern immortal realm. The sword that once guarded the south of the sky and frightened the demonic realm into not daring to cross the forbidden sea, the infinite immortal sword. That should be it, in the world, only that sword has such terrifying power. Why is this sword in the lower world? Is the legend true?" Xuanhuan murmured and said, "The Wuji Sword King of the southern immortal realm, because his friend the first immortal king of the heaven realm was killed, he drew his sword to fight the kings of the immortal realm, and fell into the lower world." Thinking about it, she looked at Li Fan with her big eyes, and she had more doubts in her heart. "So, who is Li Fan? How does he know where the sword is? Moreover, you can easily send disciples to get it. While everyone was shocked, Li Fan casually took the broken sword and weighed it in his hands. It's actually a broken sword? This prize is very strange. Is it an antique or something? Li Fandeo, the sword is okay, and the materials used to make the sword are okay, but it's a pity that it's broken. Maybe it would be better to recast it if I have a chance in the future. Hearing this, everyone was even more shocked. Such a terrifying divine sword, in Li Fan's eyes, is just well enough. Not bad. Even the sword of the Wuji Sword King is just okay in his eyes. Xian Ning murmured, feeling in a daze in her heart, wondering what kind of existence she was facing. Gongya's expression was even more complicated. The more she understood the horror of this sword, the more she felt how frightening Li Fan's two faint comments were. Du Guyuking's eyes lit up and he said, "Master, do you know how to make swords?" Li Fan smiled and said, "Forging swords. My master only knows a little bit about blacksmithing." Blacksmithing. Everyone was stunned for a moment. But, they all reacted immediately. Senior Li's blacksmithing refers to the avenue of weapon refining. Everyone understands. Tool refining, in the eyes of the world, is profound and difficult to understand, but for a being like Senior Li, it is no different than forging iron by a secular blacksmith. Du Guyuking was immediately overjoyed. He understood the weight of the teacher's words. For others, knowing a little bit about it may really be just a little bit about it. However, everyone in the field understood that Li Fan's knowledge definitely meant that this was another avenue that could lead to the extreme. The art of refining weapons is extremely complex. Among tens of millions of cultivators, there are only one or two lucky ones who can refine weapons. Senior Li is actually proficient in this art. Senior Li is really a scholar. I really want to know, is there anything else in this world that he doesn't understand? Being knowledgeable about the past and the present, knowing everything, that's all. Everyone also sighed with emotion. By the way, Master, there is one more thing. This time, there is an extra person in your painting. Du Guyuking continued to speak, took out the Great Sun Path diagram given by Li Fan, and opened it. Nanfeng and Ziling also came over. There was actually an extra person in Master's painting? What's going on? A group of disciples were very concerned. Holy Lord Yuanyang and others looked solemn. They all knew that the things in this painting were very remarkable and related to the existence beyond immortality. The scroll was opened, and everyone saw a red sun in the painting, as if it was taken from the real world into the scroll. The scroll was vast, the sun was setting in the west, and it was full of some indescribable truth. But at this moment, in the scroll, there is a figure approaching the red sun. One step closer. Holy Lord Yuanyang and others were all surprised. Compared to the previous time in Taiyan Holy Land, this figure was closer to the red sun. This clone belongs to an existence above immortality. Once it gets close, it may rush out of the scroll. Once such a supreme being escapes from trouble, millions of lower realms may be turned upside down, and no one can stop it. They are all worried. As for Gongya Moshui, he just glanced at it from a distance, but his eyes stung, and he almost bled, so he hurriedly lowered his head. Demon Lord, that figure is trapped in the painting. I'm afraid that figure is an extremely terrifying existence. She sent a message in horror. As a first-generation demon commander, she knows more about those terrifying existences. There is a prophecy in the world, the immortal king cannot be seen. When those who look directly at the immortal king, all kinds of weird and terrifying things will often happen, and many people will die suddenly. Xian Ning also took a look and murmured, "Is there a clone of the immortal king trapped in this painting? It's too scary. This is unimaginable. The immortal king is the true supreme existence in heaven and earth. Even if it takes hundreds of thousands of years, it is difficult for one to appear. The immortal king is the pronoun of invincibility. And now, a clone of the immortal king is actually trapped in a painting. If word of this spreads, big waves will erupt throughout the immortal realm. Li Fan, on the other hand, took a look at his painting and couldn't help but feel a little unhappy. Who is this, so unethical, scribbling on his own paintings? It's simply too much and lacks quality. Moreover, although the figure is painted hazy, it is vaguely visible that it is a man, a fairy, or something. It can also be said that it is a fairy flying in the day, which is a bit interesting. Now, it is really ugly. Master, what should I do? Dugu Yuking was a little uneasy. Although Li Fan was unhappy, he did not blame Dugu Yuking and others, and said calmly, "It's okay, it's no big deal. Bring me some pen and ink." Hearing this, everyone's eyes lit up. Immediately, Xiling took the pen and ink from the study room. Everyone was looking at Li Fan. I saw Li Fan swipe his pen, and the strokes covered with ink suddenly passed over the scroll. With this stroke of his hand, everyone in the room seemed to feel a trembling from their souls, as if some unspeakable existence was passing away. The avenue roared, and the laws intertwined. And with Li Fan's stroke, the figure in this picture of the Great Sun Path was erased by Li Fan. In an instant, everyone was stunned. Dead silence, complete silence. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 137. When Holy Master Yuanyang and others saw this, they were instantly stunned and looked at the scene in front of them in disbelief. It was like seeing a ghost. Is this okay? You must know that, the one in the painting is a living, terrifying existence. Even though it is just a clone, it is also a clone of the immortal king, possessing invincible power in heaven and earth. However, now it has been wiped out with one stroke. How can this be? No. No more? Has the existence in it just disappeared? Holy Lord Ling Chao was completely shocked. Incredible, Senior Li's move, directly caused this clone to completely disappear from this world. Holy Lord Yuanyang was also stunned. This scene was simply incredible. Master, you wiped out a clone of the immortal king with just one stroke, but the opponent didn't even make a splash. Dugu Yuking and Lu Rang looked at each other in shock. They knew very well how terrifying this clone was. And Demon Commander Gongya almost fainted when he saw this scene. The impact was too strong for her, making her feel that what she saw was an illusion and not reality at all. That was the immortal king, and he was actually wiped out like this. Am I still underestimating the strength of this senior? This is too scary. What is the purpose of him hiding here? Xianning murmured, feeling that her young heart had been violently impacted. A clone of the immortal king was wiped out by Li Fan. However, Li Fan was very indifferent and smiled and said, "Isn't this great?" He looked at Xiling with a smile and said, "Have you learned? As long as you work hard, no one can dirty your paintings. As long as you know your painting well and can master every stroke, you can restore your painting anytime, anywhere." Hearing this, Xiling was startled, and then nodded hurriedly. The master was teaching him the Tao. Could it be that one day, like my master, I could use a paintbrush to erase such existence? She was so excited that she exploded. Master, also, something happened to my grass. Seeing this, Lu Rang hurriedly took the grass off his back and said, "When I went out this time, some ashes floated in, and I felt that the grass was getting worse and worse." Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Ashes. Junior brother Dugu, what is going on? Why do I feel that this grass seems to be alive, and there is also a feeling that makes people dare not look directly? Nanfan asked Dugu Yuking. Duguyuking looked complicated and said. The ashes mentioned by senior brother Lu Rang, should be the ashes of the immortal king. Hearing this, everyone present fell silent once again. No, the ashes of the immortal king. Everyone was dizzy for a while. What's going on? The immortal king, isn't that a supreme existence? It only exists in myths and legends. It is said that in the fairyland, whenever the name of the immortal king is mentioned, it will cause all kinds of changes, no one disrespects him. But now, Senior Li just took up his pen and casually wiped out a clone of the immortal king. Now, one of Senior Li's two disciples got the broken sword of the immortal king, and the other planted a pot of grass. The ashes of the immortal king actually floated into it? Has the immortal king become a cabbage? At the same time, everyone looked at the pot of grass in disbelief. How terrifying would it be to have a pot of grass with even the ashes of the immortal king attached to it? Li Fan also frowned when he heard this. This Lu Rang is really weird. Actually let the ashes float in? However, there seems to be no problem with this, he then said. What's all the fuss about this little thing? Ashes are the same as plant ashes. They're both a kind of fertilizer, and they're also good for grass. Hearing this, Lu Rang was startled. Everyone was even more dumbfounded and suspected that they had heard wrongly. Is it the same as plant ash? Fertilizer. The ashes of an immortal king are so worthless in the eyes of Senior Li. This state. This height. Everyone felt that their worldview seemed to collapse at this moment. And at this moment, in the endless void ocean of the lower realm, a terrifying figure is traveling in the void. With one step, it is thousands of miles away. With a single thought, he can understand what is happening in countless sea areas. However, suddenly this figure stopped, and two terrifying rays of light suddenly burst out from his eyes. Like two flames in the dark night, wherever you look, countless small worlds explode directly, all living things die directly, and the world turns into dust. In anger, the galaxy trembled. Who dares to destroy my clone? He roared angrily, and streams of chi escaped from his body. Wherever these chi machines passed, they instantly set off a huge storm in the entire void ocean, and the world-destroying vortexes were one after another, stretching for millions of miles. Thousands of lower realms were instantly plunged into a doomsday storm because of his anger. To destroy my clone, the immortal king must take action. Are there any traitors like the Wuji immortal king in the immortal realm? He shouted in a deep voice. Then, he stood in the void sea for a long time, but lost his direction. The lower world is vast. The void sea is infinite. There are only 1,000,000 lower realms recognized and controlled by the immortal realm, but there are more, hidden in more secret sea areas. Some sea areas, even the immortal king has never set foot. Before, I could still use that clone to find my opponent, but now, I have lost even a little bit of direction. This king will return to the immortal realm. He suddenly waved his hand and tore the void directly. The next moment, he had appeared in the wild fairyland. He did not go back to his immortal palace, but stepped out and arrived in front of a hidden Taoist palace somewhere. Anchuo, the immortal king, come to see our old friend. He spoke. The Dao palace was shaken, but it did not open. A huge shadow appeared above the Dao palace, and it was also an indifferent figure. Immortal King Anchuo, what are you doing here? The other party spoke indifferently. Immortal King Yulan, I am here to ask you to take action and deduce a cause and effect. Immortal King Anchuo spoke. Immortal King Yulan on the opposite side said indifferently. Haha, please let me take action? Does this matter involve other immortal kings? If it involves the realm of immortal kings, the price is not small. Immortal King Anchuo said every word, no matter what the cost. At the same time, at this moment, in the vast ocean of void, there is a vast white world. This world is very vast. It is also a de world, but it is several times larger than ordinary de worlds. The bright world. The Diming realm has a vast territory, with undulating mountains and rivers, and the rich spirit of the fairy spirit has given birth to countless strong men in this land. There are endless immortals, and there are also many golden immortals. In Zhongzhou, the Diming realm, there is a grand palace. This place is the palace of the Xianming dynasty, one of the Jingxian-level dynasties in the Diming realm. At this moment, Zhao Chenxing, the emperor of the Xianming dynasty, hurried to a certain hall. On the way, he passed through 3 layers of barriers before finally arriving in front of the palace. Senluo Palace. This palace looks more magnificent than any other in the dynasty. However, its existence cannot be detected in the outside world. It has been hidden by powerful beings using secret methods. Only Zhao Chenxing, who knows the secret, can find it. Before Zhao Chenxing walked up to the main hall step by step, he bowed deeply and said, "My subordinate Zhao Chenxing came to pay my respects. Enter." An indifferent voice sounded in the hall. Zhao Chenxing entered immediately. The main hall was already filled with a group of old men. The breath of each one is very powerful. The weakest ones are all golden immortals. The author of the previous poem is an old man with an immortal spirit, gently shaking a yellow cattail leaf fan in his hand. This person is Lin Wenqi, the branch leader of Senluo Holy Sect in Diming Realm. The Senluo Holy Sect has great intentions for the lower realm, and has secretly controlled this realm for a long time. However, the Diming Realm is a middle-level world in the Dzi realm. It possesses very ancient power and has seen many people who entered the immortal realm. Even some people from the earthly realm who have entered the immortal realm have already achieved a certain status in the immortal realm. Moving the bright world will most likely make the immortal realm aware of it. The Senluo Holy Sect was unwilling to disturb the immortal realm before its plan was realized. So, hidden in the Xianming dynasty. Lin Wenqi glanced at Zhao Chenxing lightly and said, "A few days ago, the earth spirit took control of everyone, and the soul lamps were all extinguished. Even the elder Song Chengzhou who was sent to help out is dead." Hearing this, Zhao Chenxing was immediately startled, his eyes filled with incredulity. All the earth spirit branches are destroyed. Even Song Chengzhou is dead? God, what happened? According to investigation, the hundreds of lower realms originally controlled by the earth spirit branch have been integrated together, but they are not under our control. Lin Wenqi continued speaking calmly. Zhao Chenxing was shocked. Could it be that someone dared to go against Senlu Tang? He spoke respectfully and said, "Is there anything I can do?" In the outside world, he is the aloof emperor of the Xianming dynasty, a golden immortal who dominates the world, and is famous throughout the earthly Ming realm. But here, he is groveling. Because he deeply understands that any one of these people in front of him can easily crush him to death, and the power behind them is an existence that they can only look up to in the Xianming dynasty. Lin Wenqi said word for word. Previously, news came from the Earth Spirit branch, claiming that there are forbidden treasures in the small worlds they control, so we sent Elder Song to go there. Now, I want you to spread this news to the entire Earth Ming realm immediately. I believe that the temptation of forbidden artifacts will unite the forces in the earthly Ming realm to attack that world. Hearing this, Zhao Chenxing was shocked. A flash of complexity flashed in his eyes, and he understood what the old man meant. Obviously, the death of Song Chengzhou and the complete destruction of the Earth Spirit branch made Senluo Palace fearful. Therefore, releasing this news was precisely to use the countless forces and sects in the Earth Ming realm to test. But he said nothing and said respectfully, "I obey." Then, he left. Many elders in the main hall also dispersed immediately. "Hall master, why go to all this trouble? You should just send people there and destroy that realm." However, an elder stayed and asked questions with confusion. There was a deep fear in Lin Wenqi's old eyes, and he said, "Do you know what happened in the immortal realm recently?" The elder shook his head and said, "I don't know. Zhan Li in the first heaven actually decided to become immortal with his will, went to the immortal realm, and fought with the Holy Gold Immortal Lord. The final outcome was that the Holy Gold Immortal Lord was destroyed." Hearing this, the elder suddenly took a breath of air and said, "How can this be?" Lin Wenqi also sighed and said, "No one could have imagined it, but it's already happening. The fall of the immortal, the rain of blood on the immortal realm is something that has never happened in many eras. Moreover, the person who died was a powerful person like the Holy Gold Immortal Lord." The elder was silent for a long time and said, "What does this matter have to do with the new big world where the earth spirit separates to promote the integration?" Lin Wenqi said, "Of course it is related, because the current center of the big world was originally called Xiantian Realm." Xiantian Realm. The elder's pupils suddenly shrank. Could it be that the legend is true? The first heaven was shattered into countless small worlds. He murmured. Just when something happened to our branch here, the remnants of the first heaven realm came to the immortal realm. This is such a coincidence, so we have to be careful. Lin Wenqi said. You must know that now, almost all the major forces in the immortal realm have begun to search the lower realms to find the reason why the will can prove immortality. The elder couldn't help but said, "Does the immortal lord know what happened here?" Lin Wenqi nodded deeply and said, "The immortal lord believes that it is very likely to contain great terror, and it may also contain a peerless opportunity, so he ordered to investigate carefully and report back at any time. This is the decree of the immortal lord." When the elder heard this, he understood everything. Faced with this situation, you can never be too careful. You must know that it involves the first heaven, and involves the terrifying secret that can make the will immortal. My subordinates understand, and we will do our best to do it. He spoke immediately, turned and left. Not long after, in the Diming realm, a news suddenly spread throughout the world. In a world not too far away from the underworld, there is a forbidden treasure hidden. As soon as this news came out, there was a sensation in the entire Diming realm. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 138. What? A small Xuanzi world might actually hide forbidden artifacts? Is it true? The source of the news? I feel like it's just a matter of speculation. If there really is a forbidden artifact, it would be a great opportunity. All the major forces in the Diming realm have paid attention to this news. However, most people are skeptical. It's true. Xuanhuan sect discovered that in the void sea 100,000 miles away, a world-destroying vortex occurred some time ago. However, the strange thing is that the final world-destroying vortex did not cause a devastating disaster. On the contrary, because of this, a new big world was formed there. Soon, a piece of news came out again. According to predictions, only forbidden artifacts can protect the small world over there from invasion. As soon as this statement came out, many forces could not sit still. The Xuanhuan sect is an ancient sect in the Diming realm. It specializes in studying the void sea and has almost no competition with the world, so it has a very high status in the Diming realm. The news released by the sect cannot be false. In any case, a new big world has been formed, which is worth going to. In an ancient golden immortal level sect, an old sect leader murmured in a low voice, "The Diming world is already crowded enough, a new big world is convenient for us to colonize." Calling all the angels. In a dynasty, the powerful emperor spoke up and said, "I will lead you to conquer this void sea and establish an immortal empire." Forbidden artifact? Haha, it's worth fighting for. In a swamp filled with bones, a devil transformed from Yin Qi spoke in a low voice. As he raised his hand, countless armies of bones suddenly stood up behind him. Soon, all major forces expressed their willingness to go. Taking this opportunity, Zhao Chenxing, the emperor of the Xianming dynasty, issued an appeal. It shows that the allied forces of the Ming realm have conquered the new big world and divided the resources. The opponent's forbidden artifacts must be obtained first and then we can discuss distribution. As soon as this statement was made, it received support from many major forces. Haha, a small new world, why does it need such a big fanfare? Our Xuanhuan family will set off first. However, some powerful forces did not give face to the Xianming dynasty and took action on their own. They sent out void ships that day, passed through the boundary wall, and headed towards the New World coordinates. Skyline. Xiantian Prefecture has been very lively recently. The top figures from all major leagues arrived here with their elites. Earth Spirit Alliance, come and serve the Xiantian Alliance. Earth and Wind Alliance, from today onwards, only the two leaders, Huo Ling'er and Mu Jianing, will take command. The Earth UN Alliance is here to report. All major alliances, come here. Because, in Huangtianzhou, when Dugu Yuking left, many powerful people who got the opportunity of the immortal Dao Palace followed the orders of the Xiantian Alliance. So, they all came. So many people. In Taiyan Holy Land, Huo Ling'er and Mu Jianing were a little surprised when they looked at the top figures from the major forces. Some time ago, the major alliances arrived to rob Xiantian state. Now, all attitudes have changed drastically. Come and do your bidding. All this is because of Senior Li. Holy Lord Yuan Yang spoke with emotion and said. Young Master Lonely said that among all the major forces, there are figures who have received immortal inheritances, and those inheritances were undoubtedly given by Senior Li. Now, did Senior Li ask them to come here to form a heavenly army? Hearing this, everyone looked stern. It should be like this. Senior Li is the Lord of the Heaven Realm. Obviously, he wants to revive the power of the first Heaven Realm. And we, as well as these people from the major alliances, are the prototype of the heavenly army. Dugu Shenlu always murmured. In a daze, I seemed to have seen the grand blueprint of Senior Li. Everyone was filled with emotion. After today, you can live in Xiantian state to practice and work together for the Lord of Heaven. Huo Ling'er, who looked like a queen, stepped forward and spoke to the major alliances. As you command. As you command. The major leagues shouted in unison. Time flies. In the next period of time, people from all major alliances are speeding up their cultivation. Now, with the integration of the New World, in Xiantian state where the world tree has taken root, the spiritual energy is extremely rich, and the spirit of the fairy spirit has been born, which is very suitable for cultivation. Among the major alliances, the 300 people who had received the immortal inheritance were gathered together by Huo Ling'er to form a heavenly general hall. Yu Pashan, the deputy head of the Tianzhong Hall, has broken through to the 9th level of the Golden Immortal and is about to enter the Tai Golden Immortal realm. The prodigy Kinglin became an immortal overnight, reaching the realm of immortality. Xia Yao will soon become a true immortal without giving in too much. Rapid progress. Holy Lord Yuan Yang, Dugu Shenlu, and others were led by Huo Ling'er and Mu Jianing to enter the small mountain village again to practice. Here, they are making great progress. Brother Dugu's sword intent is so terrifying, has he entered the golden immortal realm. Everyone was surprised that Dugu Shenlu was very powerful and became the first local golden immortal in Xiantian Prefecture. I feel ashamed to say that Senior Li's realm is too high for me to peek into. Therefore, recently I have been studying my son Yuking's sword practice. Dugu Shenlu spoke with emotion. I am only one step away from the golden immortal realm. It is also the pure dust of my temple that has given me a lot of inspiration. Holy Master Kongming also spoke. Among them, Huo Ling'er and Mu Jianing grew the fastest. After all, the two of them had such a close relationship that they could go to the courtyard to drink some tea and listen to Li Fan's sermons from time to time. The two alliance leaders have also entered the realm of immortals, and their foundation is much stronger than ours. Everyone looked at Huolinger and Mu Jianing with envy and emotion. Soon, half a month passed. Report. Today, an urgent message suddenly came. Reporting to the two alliance leaders, a fleet was discovered in the Void Sea and is approaching our heaven. Suddenly, Huolinger and others were shocked. Send the order, gather the people, and gather at Taiyan Holy Land. Huolinger spoke. Not long after, the people from Tianjiangtang, Holy Master Yuan Yang and others gathered. To report to the leader of the alliance, I have sent an envoy to inquire about the other party's intentions. However, the other party directly destroyed our cultivation. The other party told us to surrender immediately and sacrifice the whole world. Holy Lord Ling Chao spoke seriously and said, the other party should be from other big worlds. It is not easy to be able to cross the Void Sea. Hearing this, everyone in the venue was very angry. What do you think you are? Huolinger said angrily, Palace Master Yu, take someone with you and follow me. Yu Pashan stood up immediately and said, yes. Not long after, Huolinger and others appeared outside the boundary wall. Here, they saw hundreds of huge warships in the Void Sea ahead. Those warships can withstand the impact of ripples in the void. Who is in front of you? Why are you coming to my heaven? Yu Pashan stepped forward and spoke. Ha, heaven. On a void ship at the front of the fleet, a middle-aged man stood with his hands behind his hands and sneered, how dare a group of ants use such a world name? Submit immediately and donate all your resources. I, the Xuanhuan family, will spare your life, otherwise dash. This world is completely destroyed. He is domineering. Do you think there is no one in heaven and you can do whatever you want? Huolinger stepped forward and shouted angrily. Heaven? You said it, this is just the world of ants. To our earthly world, you are not even a grain of sand on the roadside. He spoke coldly and said, since you are stubborn, then just die dash. As soon as he raised his hand, the powerful power of the fairy spirit swept towards Huolinger and everyone else. He will raise his hand and kill them all. Huolinger and others were all perverted and angry. This was too much. Dare you? Yu Pashan took a step forward and punched out. In an instant, the void exploded, and all the opponent's fairy power dissipated. What? Such a powerful golden immortal. The middle-aged people of the Xuanhuan family were surprised. When he was shocked, Huolinger had already ordered, kill. Everyone in the heaven came to attack instantly. A big battle suddenly broke out in the Void Sea. After a long time, the corpse floated in the Void Sea, without the protection of the boundary wall, and quickly rotted into ashes. Total destruction, with such strength, you dare to come to our heaven to seek death. Everyone sneered. In this battle, the heavens will be victorious. The opponent is very strong, and it's just the vanguard, so we have to be careful. Yu Pashan spoke in a deep voice. The middle-aged man of the Xuanhuan family had just fought with him. If Huolinger hadn't taken action in time, he might not have been able to tell the winner now. Huolinger took a deep breath and said, send the order, the heaven realm, must be prepared for a realm battle. The opponent is Dimingja. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 139. The Bright World. The news that the Xuanhuan family was wiped out came back soon. In an instant, many major forces in the Diming realm were taken aback. What, the Xuanhuan family was completely wiped out? The head of the Xuanhuan family, I remember, has reached the 8th level of the Golden Immortal, right? You can kill him. In this new world, the strength of the natives is not weak. The Xuanhuan family has learned from the past. Acting rashly is risky. Perhaps forming a coalition is indeed the wisest choice. For a time, Many forces in the Daiming realm reached a consensus because of this incident. Some forces that wanted to act alone before gave up their thoughts and joined the coalition advocated by the Xianming dynasty. Xianming dynasty, the imperial capital. The head of the Wang family, a golden immortal level family, has arrived. The golden immortal level sect Jingguang sect has arrived. The old emperor of the Chen dynasty has arrived. All the major forces have gathered. There are dozens of golden immortal level forces, including emperors, sect leaders, family heads, and countless others. There are nearly 100 people at the golden immortal level. This is the confidence of the Daimingja alliance. In the lower realm, the Daiming realm is considered a medium world even if it is in the Daizu realm. Emperor Xianming, we can set off. The old emperor of the Chen dynasty couldn't wait to speak. All the major forces have arrived, there is no need to wait any longer. The head of Jingguang sect also spoke. Emperor Xianming Zhao Chenxing immediately stood up and said, "The void ships gather, the coalition forces set off." Immediately, the void ships of countless powerful forces in the Daiming realm took off one after another. At a glance, there are nearly 10,000 ships packed tightly together. Nearly 10,000 void naval ships suddenly moved in a certain direction from the sea area of the earthly Ming realm. At the same time, when the coalition forces from the Daiming realm began to advance, a grand palace suddenly appeared in the palace of the Xianming dynasty in the Daiming realm. Senluo branch. Lin Wenqi, the leader of the branch hall, walked out, followed by 8 elders with very scary auras behind him. The cannon fodder has been dispatched. We should follow suit and take a good look in secret to see how deep the new world is. Lin Wenqi opened his mouth, took one step, and the group of people disappeared. Now. Skyline. Taiyan Holy Land. People from all major alliances have gathered. The people from Tianzhong Hall also gathered together. We know nothing about the earthly Ming realm. But judging from its vanguard troops, this sector is very powerful, so don't be careless. Holy Lord Yuanyang spoke and said, "I suggest that we all mobilize to fight outside the territory." Everyone nodded. It's about the survival of the entire heaven. We must go all out. This is also a test. It's time to test our strength. Let's fight. Many people in Tianzhong Hall also spoke. After receiving the immortal inheritance and practicing during this period, everyone felt that they had greatly improved. It was time for a battle to be tested and tempered. Besides, for such a big thing, I think we still have to report it to Senior Li. Dugu Shenlu spoke. Huo Linger and Mu Jianing also nodded and said, "We will go to see Senior Li later." Small village. In the small courtyard. Some time passed, and Li Fan's group of disciples made new progress. One sword opens the sky, one sword opens the sky. Dugu Yuking held the chicken feather pen in her hand and murmured. He was experiencing it, combined with Li Fan's demonstration of the sky-opening sword, and the feeling of holding the broken sword of the Wuji Immortal King in the Immortal Dao Palace. An invincible sword intent arose spontaneously. He draws it in one stroke. With the stroke of the pen, the word on the rice paper looks like a silver hook iron painting. At this moment, the Wuji broken sword on his waist sounded softly. His whole aura burst out suddenly. Golden Immortal. For a time, many disciples looked at him in surprise. Dugu Yuking has entered the realm of Golden Immortal. Master arranged for junior brother Dugu to go out on this trip, and the harvest was really great. In his sword intention, there is already a vague prototype of the teacher's Kaishin sword. While sweeping the floor, I couldn't help but speak. Next to him, Nanfan seemed to be inspired by Dugu Yuking's sword intention just now, and the sound of the piano moved. In the sound of the piano, a peerless sword intent actually evolved. This is exactly the sword intention of Dugu Yuking just now. The sound of her piano sounded like the resounding sound of a divine sword. No one in the audience could tell the difference from the sword intention of Dugu Yuking just now. It perfectly reproduces the sword intent just now. Senior Sister Nanfan's piano sound is so terrifying. The sound of Nanfan's piano fell, and everyone was surprised. Moreover, she herself entered the Golden Immortal realm a few days ago, becoming the first Golden Immortal among many disciples. With one stroke, immortal existence can be obliterated. To do this, you must know your own world well. Zi Ling was painting, comprehending the grace of Li Fan, who wiped out the immortal king with one stroke that day. After a long time, she started writing. A vivid picture appeared immediately. It was also a red Sunday, however. The red sun she painted today seemed to be alive and shining on the world. Senior Sister Xiling, with her painting skills, she has also entered the realm of Golden Immortal. Everyone also exclaimed. On the contrary, Long Zixuan and Xing Chen did not make much movement. However, one day, while the carp was swimming in the pond, Long Zixuan's 9 flawless golden dragon souls shook the sky with overwhelming power. Only the sound of the south wind could suppress him. The clean dust is neither mountainous nor leaking, but the broom in his hand has a Taoist charm every time he sweeps it, and the whole person seems unfathomable. Only Lu Rang was still in the realm of the mysterious immortal. He was so stupid that he planted grass every day. He was so obsessed with it. However, no one dares to look down upon him. On the contrary, the pot of grass he planted now makes everyone afraid. After all, that is the grass nourished by the ashes of the immortal king. This guy can't really grow an immortal king, can he? That would be too scary. Gongya looked at Lu Rang and spoke in a low voice, murmuring. Holding tea in her hand, she stepped forward and poured tea for Li Fan respectfully. Li Fan was teaching Xuanhuan to read poetry. At this moment, he couldn't help but pause slightly and said. Gongya, do you know the true meaning of tea? Gongya was startled, but then shook her head and said, Gongya doesn't know. In the past few days, she followed Li Fan and learned how to make tea. She vaguely realized that there seemed to be a true meaning in it, but it was not clear yet. When ordinary people make tea, they often pay attention to a lot of fussy etiquette, but in fact the process of making tea is very simple. Making tea, in the final analysis, is just boiling water to bring out the fragrance of the tea leaves. Therefore, when making tea, you only need to be able to distinguish the texture of the tea leaves, choose the appropriate water temperature, and brew for enough time. It is as simple as that. Hearing this, Gongya suddenly had a flash of light in her heart. The boiling water brings out the fragrance of tea leaves. She murmured. Within her body, the technique suddenly began to operate on its own. In the realm of Deluo Golden Demon, I have been cultivating Deluo demonic chi from the 1st to the 9th heaven. But now, the Deluo demonic chi in my body is already in a very full state. The next step is it is necessary to generate a wisp of Xuanhuan demonic energy from the strong Deluo demonic energy. Only by doing this can you become immortal and the demon king of enlightenment. And what the master said about using boiling water to cook out the fragrance of tea leaves, is he instructing me that all the Deluo demonic energy needs to be cooked like tea leaves. If she realizes something, the demonic energy in her body is slowly undergoing some kind of change. Gongya understands. Thank you, Master, for your guidance. She spoke to Li Fan gratefully. Gongya has made some progress. Xuanhuan also noticed something. Her big eyes rolled around. Qianning and others, come to see Senior Li. Outside, the voices of Mu Qianning and others came. Please come in. Li Fan opened his mouth, and Mu Qianning, Huo Ling and others came over immediately. Entering it, they were all surprised when they felt the auras of Li Fan's many disciples. Senior Li's group of disciples seemed to have made amazing progress. Holy Lord Yuan Yang murmured. It seems that it won't be long before Senior Li's disciples will appear in the heavens to conquer. Dugu Shenlu thought of something. Why are you here? Has the development been going smoothly recently? Li Fan smiled and looked at Mu Jianing and others. Mu Jianing said, Senior Qi, since the last time you sent young Master Lu Rang and young Master Dugu Yuking to help, our situation has been great, and several other alliances have almost all joined us. Li Fan was also quite happy when he heard this. This means that the business of Mu Jianing and others has further expanded. The better the other party's business is, the better it is for you. After all, Li Fan was still worried about finding an apprentice. This time, Lu asked the big mouth to follow him out, but he didn't kidnap anyone back. Senior, however, recently someone sailed from the Void Sea and attempted to occupy the heaven. Huo Linger then spoke and said, we have already suppressed the other party's first trial, but we expect that the other party will have a more violent offensive. Li Fan was dumbfounded when he heard this. Sailing from the Void Sea. The Void Sea is simply an untouchable concept to him. Is the world of cultivators so vast and magnificent? A business can span the world. As a mortal like me, I know nothing about this kind of thing. If I were not proficient in calligraphy and painting, I would not even be qualified to hear about it. Mu Jianing and others came to visit, obviously asking for help again. Those who are trying to steal business come from other worlds, and they will inevitably compete in the art of calligraphy and painting. I see. Li Fan spoke, looked at Zi Ling next to him, and said, Girl Ling, are you going this time? Among the apprentices who can help him, Dugu Yuking has already gone there once to learn calligraphy. This time, let Zi Ling, who is learning painting, go out and have a look. Hearing this, Zi Ling next to him was startled. Ah, me. She was a little surprised. Li Fandao, yeah, go ahead, winning or losing is not important. The main thing is that this is also an opportunity to test yourself. Hearing this, Zi Ling immediately understood that Master was going to test himself. Okay, Zi Ling obeys. She stood up and said, but Master, I can't fully use your pen yet. Although she has entered the realm of Golden Immortal, she is still far from able to control Li Fan's paintbrush. If there really was a war outside, she was afraid that her spiritual power would not be able to sustain it. When Li Fan heard this, he immediately looked at the chickens next to him. Then I will help you make another one as a teacher. After saying that, he stood up and plucked the chicken feathers again. When the native chickens over there saw Li Fan walking over, they all squatted on the ground very docilely and did not dare to move at all. Not long after, he had already pulled out a bunch of hair, made a pen, handed it to Zi Ling, and said, try this. Zi Ling immediately took it and started to feel a majestic and endless blazing energy. She felt, as if she was holding a sun. Senior Sister Xiling, the chicken quill pen made by our master is extremely powerful. Dugu Yuking said, congratulations. Hearing this, Zi Ling went crazy and said, don't say that mine is a chicken quill pen. Mine, I want to call it Phoenix Quill. Next to him, Li Fan also spoke thoughtfully and said, well, the Phoenix Feather Pen sounds nice, let's call it Huang Feather Pen. Hearing this, Dugu Yuking suddenly turned green. They are all the same pens, why is my own called a chicken feather pen so unpleasant? Ah, no, I also want to change the name of my pen. I want it to be called, Huangtian Brush. He protested. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 140. Beyond Heaven. In the Void Sea. Densely packed black spots clustered together like floating water. As the distance gradually got closer, those black spots gradually grew larger, turning into a leaf or a sycamore tree. When they got closer, each void naval ship looked like a mountain. My God, is this earthly Ming realm, Actually so powerful? There are so many void ships, there are tens of thousands of them, right? It's unbelievable. I feel the auras of countless golden immortals. It's also the earthward realm, but even if the original Dayuan realm, earth spirit realm, and earth wind realm are all added up, it's not even half as big as the other one, right? With such a strong lineup, if it were heaven realm before, it would really be surrendering, but now, we are already capable of fighting. On the heaven realm side, looking at the approaching Diming realm army in front, everyone also spoke one after another. From a quantitative point of view, the strength of the two sides is very different. There are many void ships in the earthly Ming realm, tens of thousands of them, but there are only more than 1,000 in the entire heaven realm. Finally, countless void ships from the earthly Ming realm were lined up outside the waters of the heaven realm. The ants in this world, why don't you quickly surrender and wait here, are you seeking death? On the Chen dynasty's void ship, an old emperor spoke coldly, and the powerful golden immortal level cultivation was released overwhelmingly. On the side of heaven, Huo Linger stepped forward with the air of a queen, and said coldly, "This is heaven. The heaven realm and the earthly Ming realm have never had anything to do with each other. You are going to war and trying to occupy it? Do you really think that the heaven realm is at your disposal?" After hearing her shouting and asking, everyone in the Diming realm laughed disdainfully. "Haha, heaven. A bunch of ants are really arrogant, dare to use this name. I don't know why, even if we are in the Ming realm, we don't dare to touch the word heaven. You dare to call the world of ants the world of heaven. If you overstep your bounds, you should be killed." A golden immortal spoke. They seemed to be on top. At this time, Zhao Chenxing from the Xianming dynasty also stepped forward immediately and shouted, "The ants in front of you should immediately put down their weapons and abolish their cultivation. Otherwise, don't blame our Mingja coalition forces for going on a killing spree. I count down to 3 seconds. If you don't surrender, our coalition forces in this world will be completely wiped out." He stared at Huo Linger and raised his hand. But Huo Linger and others just treated him indifferently. 3, 2, 1. Zhao Chenxing suddenly waved his hand and shouted, "Kill! Kill! Kill! Kill!" In an instant, the army from the Diming realm charged directly forward. Countless fairy spirits burst out wildly. Hundreds of thousands of Diming coalition troops, a vast sea. Xianxian, Tianxian, etc. are nothing at all. Only the strong ones at the golden immortal level can have a place in this battlefield. Tens of thousands of warships suddenly rushed forward, like a sudden surge of sea water. The more than 1,000 celestial warships in front seemed so alone. However, no one stepped back. If it had been before, many people might have simply retreated and surrendered when faced with this situation. Because there is a huge disparity in strength between the two sides. However, now they all know that behind them is the Lord of Heaven, a being who can issue decrees. With such a character existing, what is there to worry about? There are no worries, so I can give it a go and fight. Fight and kill. Huo Linger also yelled. Suddenly, thousands of heavenly battleships rushed into the wave of battleships ahead. Violent battle fluctuations resounded instantly, shrouding the outer void sea in the heavens. Boom! The power of a golden immortal spirit swept down like a storm, and a warship in the heaven was turned into nothing. More than a dozen mysterious immortals were destroyed on the spot. No. An old immortal from the earthly realm rushed forward, but met Kinglan from the heaven. She pointed a finger, and a terrifying icicle directly penetrated the old immortal, and his soul was destroyed. Court death. In the Diming realm, a golden immortal took action frantically, but was restrained by the efforts of more than a dozen celestial immortals from the Diming realm. The other party was actually able to contain the golden immortal with the appearance of an immortal. He had already felt the rage of this golden immortal. Among the dozen or so heavenly immortals on the other side, there were only 2 or 3 of them, and the techniques they practiced were very terrifying. The war has begun. The number of people in the heavenly realm is much smaller than that in the earthly realm, only about 1/9 of it. After all, the Diming realm is a medium-sized earth realm, while the heaven realm is the fusion of many small worlds. Although it is not much different from the Diming realm in terms of population, the top combat power is far from being formed. Fortunately, the 300 people from Tianjiangtang showed terrifying power. Several heavenly immortals join forces and can even defeat the golden immortal. This is the horror of immortal inheritance. The top combat capabilities of both sides are also fighting at this moment. Dare you! Yu Pashan was originally the leader of the Earth Spirit Alliance. His strength was in the golden immortal realm. Later, among many golden immortals, he was the only one to receive the immortal inheritance. At this moment, he was unrivaled in power. He was 1 against 5, but he still managed to survive. He draws a lot of fire power. I didn't expect that among this group of ants, there are still some quite powerful ones that can actually compete with the strong men in our world. In the Diming realm, on the battleship, the most powerful people have not yet taken action. The old emperor of the Chen dynasty, the Emperor Xianming, the head of the Wang family, etc. Haha, to capture the thief first, capture the king. Everyone, maybe we just need to capture those 2 women, that's enough. At this time, the head of the Wang family stepped forward and looked at Mu Jianing and Huo Linger, who were fighting with everyone. He waved his hand. A terrifying storm immediately covered Huo Linger. He shot from a distance, but this kind of storm still caused many people along the way to hurriedly get out of the way. It's so powerful, this is the perfect power of the golden immortal realm. Huo Linger, who was fighting, suddenly turned around. She was just using her enemies to hone herself. However, now that the destructive force is coming, her realm is not strong enough to resist. So, without any hesitation, she pulled out the hairpin directly from her hair. A hairpin stroke. The void is annihilated. Now, she is already an immortal, so she can exert most of the power of this hairpin. Boom! Hundreds of powerful people in the earthly Ming realm were annihilated with this stroke. At the same time, the terrifying blow of the head of the Wang family was directly eliminated. Everyone around was shocked. On the battleship, the head of the Wang family narrowed his eyes and said, could it be a sacred weapon? He was incredible to the extreme. At the same time, blazing greed burst out in his eyes, and he disappeared from the spot and shot towards Huo Linger. He wants to snatch this hairpin. Also taking action at the same time were several other perfection-level golden immortals. The sect master of Jingguang sect, the cave master of Yin Yang cave, etc. are all famous figures in the Diming world. Now there are 6 or 7 people who are attacking Huo Linger at the same time. Huo Linger was not afraid, as if dancing in the void. The hairpin in her hand could withstand almost all attacks. The sky and the earth shattered, the space trembled, and their battle directly affected the surrounding area thousands of miles away. This movement caused all the fighting around to stop. Everyone stopped and looked towards the central battlefield. Huo Linger is 1 against 7. A heavenly immortal resists the 7 perfect golden immortals. Incredible! Isn't it terrible? The 7 most powerful sect masters in our world are actually besieging a young woman. No, that hairpin in her hand is so terrifying that even the golden immortal dare not touch it for fear of death. Everyone was shocked. She just relies on this joint attack to kill them. Many golden immortals have also felt the pressure, and the head of the Wang family suddenly spoke. The 7 perfection-level golden immortals suddenly took action together. The endless power of the fairy spirits gathered together, almost forming a small world-destroying storm. No one within 1,000 miles around dared to approach. Boom boom. They blasted towards Huo Linger. Then, Let's end it? However, Huolinger spoke coldly, and at that moment, a wooden sculpture suddenly appeared in her hand. That wooden sculpture is a palace. Town. She shouted softly, and immediately, the wooden sculpture expanded rapidly, enlarging rapidly, and instantly it was like an endless mountain, covering the 7 golden immortals of perfection. Lichenshan Palace. 4 big characters, like words that calm the world. As soon as this palace came out, the terrifying attacks of the 7 perfect golden immortals dissipated like rain and mist in an instant. The other golden immortals felt a great pressure. At this moment, they were extremely frightened. No. What is this? Why can't I resist? All the fairy spiritual power in my body has been completely solidified. No, this is a forbidden weapon, this is a forbidden weapon. For a moment, the 7 perfect golden immortals were all horrified and shouted hurriedly. Try your best, but you can't resist at all. No. Help. They shouted, but the shrine still suppressed them. Ah! The 7 perfect golden immortals screamed miserably, and the next moment, they were all suppressed by the Lichenshan Palace. The 7 perfect golden immortals of the earthly Ming realm have disappeared from the scene. But the terrifying Lichenshan Palace turned into a wooden sculpture again and fell towards Huolinger. Huolinger's fairy spirit power was exhausted at this moment. Li Tianshan Palace was more terrifying than a hairpin, so her power was drained away. The hairpin was originally made from the scraps left by Li Fan when he carved the Lichenshan Palace. Moreover, when Senior Li was making the wood carving, he also breathed a breath of fairy air. Therefore, the quality of this wood carving is unimaginable. Kill her now. Kill her and take away this wooden sculpture. This is a forbidden artifact, I am determined to get it. And in the Daiming realm, on the battleship, the old emperor of the Chen dynasty, the head of the Jingguang sect, etc., all had red eyes at this moment. That wooden carving shrine is definitely a truly forbidden artifact, its grade is unimaginable. In the hands of a heavenly immortal, he can already kill the perfection level golden immortal at will. What if they get it? Domination of all realms is just around the corner. So, at this moment, they are all crazy. Even Emperor Xianming Zhao Chenxing himself took a breath of air. It turned out that Hall Master Lin Wenqi didn't lie. In this world, are there really forbidden artifacts? This is a great opportunity. He immediately followed up and attacked Huolinger. The 7 perfection level golden immortals were suppressed just now, and now, there are still 5 more in the field. The 5 perfection level golden immortals are attacking with all their might, desperately trying to kill a junior, a heavenly immortal. Moreover, Huolinger was already exhausted of spiritual power at this moment. Protect the leader. Dare you? You Pashan, Holy Lord Yuan Yang, etc. all shouted angrily. However, a figure was faster than them, it was Mu Jianing. She appeared in front of Huolinger, holding the same hairpin in her hand and suddenly swiping it. A terrifying vacuum crack, annihilating all traces of the Great Avenue, appeared in front of the 5 golden immortals. The 5 golden immortals all shrank their pupils. Even though they were eager to seize the treasure, they did not dare to use their edge at this moment. They retreated hurriedly and managed to avoid the blow, but all of them turned pale. Another holy weapon. They all looked at Mu Jianing in shock. This world of heaven is too scary, right? There are actually 2 sacred artifacts and 1 forbidden artifact. This time, it's difficult. Even they might not be able to win easily. What to do? I'm afraid, I won't be able to get the treasure. How many people spoke? It seems that the only way to do this is to invite the old emperor of my dynasty to come down from the immortal realm. At this time, the emperor of the Chen dynasty spoke, with a look of determination in his old eyes. Hearing this, everyone was surprised. Each of the ancient forces in the earthly Ming realm has some amazing geniuses who have entered the immortal realm. After those characters entered the immortal realm, some disappeared from the crowd, but there were also some who soared into the sky, and their cultivation levels were terrifying. It is said that the old emperor of the Chen dynasty has become a powerful immortal general in the immortal realm. Is he an invincible existence under the immortal king? If we invite the old emperor of the Chen family, who would dare to compete? This attack on the heaven realm actually caused such a big noise. Do you want to alarm the immortal realm? The rest of the perfection golden immortals all murmured. Among their forces, there are also powerful people from the immortal realm that they can contact. However, it is difficult to compete with the Chen dynasty. The old emperor of the Chen dynasty stood up immediately and wanted to summon the ancestors of the immortal realm. But, at this moment, he suddenly let out a miserable cry. Ah! His whole body spurted out a mouthful of blood, and he fell instantly, his whole body convulsing. What happened? What's wrong? Did the summoning fail? Everyone was shocked. However, at this moment, a cold and majestic voice sounded coldly. I am here, how dare I communicate with the immortal realm? Everyone turned around and saw 9 people suddenly appearing in the void. Those were 9 old men, each, exuding a terrifying aura, as if they were above all living beings, making people look up to them. And many powerful people in the heaven were shocked when they saw this. This kind of smell is not unfamiliar to them. When the 4 major alliances attacked Xiantian state, the Lord of Heaven issued a decree, and a peerless woman even appeared, overwhelming the 4 major alliances. Xuanhuan. At this moment, the auras of these 9 people were in the same realm as Xuanhuan at that time. This means 9 Tai Golden Immortals. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 141. 9 figures walked out of the void. The breath of each one is so terrifying. These are the 9 Tai Golden Immortals. For a moment, both the army in the earthly realm and everyone in the heavenly realm were shocked and looked at these 9 people solemnly. The old emperor of the Chen dynasty, a perfect level golden immortal, was twitching at the moment, his eyes were red, and he was extremely hateful. He pointed at the 9 people and said, You. Lin Wenqi said coldly. You ant, you dare to give me advice. Wave your hand. Suddenly, the old emperor of the Chen dynasty let out a shrill scream and turned into blood mist. Everyone was shocked. This is the gap. The meeting between Jingxian and Tai Jingxian is like a chasm. Even though the old emperor of the Chen dynasty had been in the realm of perfection for countless years, he had even touched the door to the Tai Golden Immortal realm. However, if you don't become Tai Golden Immortal, you will be just an ant in front of Tai Golden Immortal. Raise your hand and kill. Who wants to contact Immortal realm? You can try again though. Lin Wenqi scanned the audience indifferently. They had been hiding in the dark before, but they couldn't help but take action now. First, because sacred objects and even forbidden artifacts had appeared. Even if they were Tai Golden Immortal, they had to be jealous. The 2 of them, the old emperor of the Chen dynasty, actually wanted to contact the immortal realm, which made them murderous. Sen Luo Immortal Lord's grand plan in the lower realm is too important to be known to anyone in the immortal realm. Otherwise, it is very likely to be destroyed. They have been hiding in the earthly realm for so many years without appearing, just for fear of alerting others. Now that forbidden artifacts and other items have been released, letting the immortal realm know about them may cause trouble. Must be suppressed. Everyone looked frightened when they heard this and did not dare to move. At this moment, Emperor Xianming Zhao Chenxing stepped forward, knelt down respectfully, and said, I've met Hall Master Lin. Seeing this, countless people in the Diming realm were even more surprised. What's going on? Prince Xianming, why do you kneel down to worship this person? Is this the ancestor of their Xianming dynasty? Impossible. All the major forces in the Diming realm are confused. Lin Wenqi had already spoken, saying, "You did a good job this time. You instigated these cannon fodder from the Ming realm to come here and forced out several treasures for me. I will reward you later." Zhao Chenxing expressed his gratitude and said, "Thank you so much, Master, thank you so much, Master." After hearing the conversation between the two, the coalition forces in the Diming realm instantly went into an uproar. "What? Are we just cannon fodder? We are being taken advantage of. I understand, these 9 people are using us. Zhao Chenxing is just their agent." For a time, all the forces were frightened and angry. "It's your honor to be exploited by a group of ants." Lin Wenqi spoke coldly, and a wisp of coercion was released lightly. In an instant, all the angry sects in the Diming realm fell silent. Dare to be angry but dare not speak. What a joke, the 9 Tai Golden Immortals are here, so what if they are Golden Immortal level forces? Not enough to watch at all. Lin Wenqi then looked at Huo Linger and Mu Qianning. "I have to say that you, the ants in this world, surprised me. Hand over the forbidden objects, and take the 300 people around you to surrender. I will spare your life." He spoke condescendingly, as if giving an order. However, everyone in the heaven was silent and no one responded. "Don't even think about it." Mu Qianning responded, clenched the hairpin in her hand, and said, "No matter who you are or where you come from, this is not a place for you to run wild." Lin Wenqi came forward with the 8 great Tai Golden Immortals and said, "Oh? Really? Do you really think that with a few treasures in your hands, you can change anything? You are simply unable to unleash the full power of the sacred artifact, let alone the forbidden artifact." Lin Wenqi said indifferently, "It seems that it's time for you to see what Tai Golden Immortal is." He raised his hand gently. The terrifying aura of Tai Golden Immortal envelopes the void sea area for thousands of miles. Very scary. Every trace of pressure. It makes your soul tremble. For a time, there were tens of thousands of people in the field, and countless people couldn't help but kneel down. Countless heavenly immortals, mysterious immortals, etc. in the earthly Ming realm. Even some golden immortals couldn't help but bend their knees. This is the terror of Tai Golden Immortal. A Tai Golden Immortal is enough to destroy countless lower realms. Because, even in the middle world in the earth world, the upper limit is Golden Immortal, and there is no way to cultivate Tai Golden Immortal. Tai Golden Immortal is invincible. Everyone in the heaven also felt a great pressure. Many people couldn't bear it and fell to the ground. "We are fighting for the Lord of Heaven, how can we surrender to you like an ant?" Dugu Shenlu roared angrily, and his eyes were about to split, soaring into the sky. He wants to fight? Among the golden immortals in the heaven, he is the most powerful. I will wait unyielding. Yu Pashan also roared and stood up. Fight for the Lord of Heaven and never give in. There are several others who also stand up and are not afraid of anything. Ridiculous. Behind Lin Wenqi, an old man pointed out with disdain. Puff puff. In an instant, Holy Lord Yuan Yang, Yu Pashan, Dugu Shenlu, and others all vomited blood and fell on the deck of the battleship, extremely weak. If it weren't for your cultivation techniques that made us still somewhat interested, with this finger, you would be dead. The elder spoke coldly. They were spying in secret and discovered the specialness of Yu Pashan and a group of people, so they wanted to keep them alive, torture them to learn their skills, and study them. Seeing this scene, everyone in the heaven was almost desperate. How to fight this? How to resist? Even one of them is no match, let alone 9. Even Mu Qianning felt powerless. There were sacred artifacts and even forbidden artifacts in her hands, but Huo Linger's spiritual power was exhausted and she was also extremely tired, unable to exert its power at all. Since a group of ants are unwilling to surrender, then I will take this sacred and forbidden artifact for myself. Lin Wenqi stepped forward coldly, while also thinking to himself. The strange thing about this world is probably this forbidden artifact. Once we get this thing, the earthly realm and the so-called heavenly realm can be destroyed, and we can continue to advance the immortal Lord's plan to merge the worlds. He grabbed Huo Linger and Mu Qianing. Unparalleled horror. Invincible. Everyone is almost desperate. Huo Linger suddenly raised his eyes, looked somewhere in the sky, and shouted, "Miss Xiling!" And in the void, a bright girl wearing a purple skirt suddenly appeared. Her figure was agile, like a fairy in the sky. At this moment, she was holding a flaming paintbrush in her hand. She is painting. And in her painting, there is a scene of a battlefield. The two armies faced each other, with nearly 10,000 battleships in the Diming realm and hundreds of thousands of coalition forces. In her writing, every detail was visible and lifelike. And in the painting, what she is painting at the moment is the 9 old men who appeared at the end. These 9 old men appeared last, and Xiling didn't notice them at first, so she continued painting in the end, slowing her down. But now, all 9 old men have appeared in the painting. Every one of them looks like a real person. The final touch. Xiling opened her mouth, held the phoenix quill pen in her hand, and took up the last stroke of colored ink. In an instant, the painting on the rice paper was completed. At this moment, the rice paper suddenly merged with this world. Countless laws of the Great Avenue roared. It is the intertwining of virtuality and reality, the mixture of truth and falsehood, the convergence between existence and nothingness. Below, the hundreds of thousands of troops in the Diming realm seemed to have turned into an existence in a painting, as if they were being wiped away quickly with an eraser. The hundreds of thousands of troops quickly disappeared. No. How can this be? What happened? Countless people screamed, howled, and panicked. However, no one can reverse the fate of disappearing from the field. Even the 9 Tai Golden Immortals were shocked at this moment. Every one of them looked horrified, as if they had seen a ghost. No, how is this possible? My cultivation seems to have disappeared, I can't move. That painting is going to take us away. Is this the immortal Dao map? Help! A group of Tai Golden Immortals seemed to have turned into bereaved dogs at this moment, trying to escape. The aloof and unruly attitude just now has completely disappeared. However, they cannot escape from this space. One by one, the Tai Golden Immortals disappeared after struggling. Even Lin Wenqi himself had his pupils wide open and looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. His body gradually became illusory. No, I don't believe it. How can there be a painting saint-level existence in this world? It's impossible. He was extremely unwilling. In his unwilling roar, his whole person disappeared in an instant. In an instant. There is silence in the void sea. The hundreds of thousands of troops and tens of thousands of warships in the Diming realm just disappeared, as if they had never existed. So many golden immortal level forces. So many perfection level golden immortals. As well as the terrifying 9 Tai Golden Immortals. Just disappeared. At this moment, Xiling, who was above, reached out lightly and grasped the scroll. In the scroll, hundreds of thousands of Xian Netherworld Coalition troops stand on tens of thousands of battleships. And the 9 arrogant Tai Golden Immortals stood sideways in the row, their expression seemed a bit ferocious and painful. Everyone is lifelike. Like a living person.